We will be contacted by mental health professionals in the following days.
G'day everyone, Mark here. It is the 1st of March. Happy anniversary, darling, as far as my wife's concerned, 19 years. So, like I say, 1st of March. We are off to Papakura District Court this morning. We still have no idea as to why the District Court has transferred the jurisdiction from Manukau out to Papakura. I can only think of because the actual trial is over and we're just going there for the judgment. Then it's probably just followed the judge. I'm thinking that Judge Jane Lovell Smith is out at Papakura today, and so she thought she'd make it extra cost for everybody to go all the way fucking out there just to hear her spout off for judgment. I gotta tell you, I'm not impressed with Judge Jane Lovell Smith and how she's conducted herself, especially in the court. You know, there's lots of little things that she's done throughout this hearing. You know, yelling at me for one thing, for just fucking trying to clear the table. She's allowed jurors to purge themselves on the stand. We've got both cops that have turned around and said they were acting as agents for the airport, so hardly acting as an impartial constable, are they? You know, we're discriminating against us, ordering us to hand our cell phones in. You know, if she's got nothing to hide, then what has she got to fear? You know, that justice is, like I said, Judge Andre Wilton said, justice must be seen to be done. So why are you trying to cover things up, Jane? You know? But anyway, so I'm doing my long fucking drive all the way from out fucking Muriwai Beach area to Papakura. So that's literally from one end of fucking Auckland to the other. Just to hear a judgment. So what I've done to counteract in case...
In 500 metres, at the roundabout, take the second exit and stay on State Highway 16 heading to Waitakere, Auckland.
In case Tony's found guilty, we've put in a section 106 at the Sentencing Act for a dismissal without conviction. So even if they want to find him guilty, we're going to go for that and see if he can have it dismissed. Because at the end of the day, he didn't do anything that meets the threshold of being disorderly. The only thing that caused things to get disorderly was the...
Exit the roundabout onto State Highway 16.
Untrained...
Continue on State Highway 16 for 2 kilometres.
Like to say, GPS could say please and thank you occasionally. Fucking always interrupting me. You know, she could turn around and say, well, hey, you know, if there wasn't so uneducated, untrained and ignorant fucking police officers trying to enforce things and breach rights that he had, as it is, they've breached section 25B of BORA because he's supposed to be, you know, party to a fair trial with undue delay. Shit, the trespass will be almost over. We're 4 months away from him no longer being trespassed from Auckland Airport for 2 years. Why? Because these fuckers have taken 1 year and 8 months to get a judgment. How ridiculous is that? They allotted 4 hours for the hearing. It took 2.5 days for what they thought was a 4-hour hearing. Their electronics and their technical stuff at the Manukau District Court half the time wouldn't fucking work. You know, and they just had a complete system upgrade. Well, they still can't play a fucking video disc, an AVI or an MP4. You know, if it wasn't for me bringing along the files, they wouldn't have been able to play the fucking evidence. So, you know, a complete fucking donkey dick circus is what it's turned out to be. But yeah, Jane's love, you know, she's like, when Tony's...
In 500 metres, at the roundabout, take the second exit and stay on State Highway 16 heading to Waitakere, Auckland.
You know, when we're questioning the witness, we've got, you know, we're trying to just get a yes or no answer, and she jumps down her throat and say, you can't do that, you can't just say you like a yes or no answer. And then along comes Harrison, old Harrison Bell from Meredith Connell, and he does that exact thing to Tony while he's on the stand. I'd just like a yes or no, thank you. Do you think she jumped down his throat for saying that? No, but she did through ours.
Exit the roundabout onto State Highway 16.
The sheer,
Continue on State Highway 16 south for 13 kilometres.
the sheer fact that we've got one of the most prestigious law firms in Auckland, Meredith Connell, acting for the police against a little old self-representing litigant with me as a helper, to me that's not fair to begin with. That's hardly a fair trial. You know, she wouldn't appoint an amicus curiae to assist Tony in cross-examination. So as far as I'm concerned, there's another reason why that's not fair. So yeah, the whole thing's been a complete joke. If Blinky Bill hadn't fucking piped up and stuck his nose in, Tony wouldn't have responded. And either way, at no time did Tony lose his cool, yell, scream, use profanity. He was very reserved. The only times things escalated is when little fucking Smurfette thought that she could ask, then tell, then make him cease exercising his rights in a public place. He had every right to record them, and as you can see through the video, her main problem was being recorded. It wasn't about a disorderly behaviour. She didn't show up to try and find out what was wrong. She showed up and then instantly tried to stop him from recording, and stuck on that fucking thing all the way. Even to when Tony's wife started recording, she tried to make his wife stop. Okay? She had no right to do that. And if the untrained fucking police officer, Cherie Ann here, knew her job properly, none of that would have ever happened. If the stupid, stuck-up fucking Jetstar manager hadn't fucking got a little fucking sarcastic and told Tony to go and arrange a flight crew, he wouldn't have done it. 23 seconds in, she tells him to go and organise his flight crew. She admits it. And then on the stand, she lies and says no. The camera control operator, the monitoring operator, who wasn't even there, she just gave her speculative fucking subjective views of what was going on. She didn't know how he was behaving. She makes out he's waving his arms around all that. He wasn't. So they just all lied. Thank God videos don't lie, huh? So we'll see what happens. I'm not sure if Tony's going to appeal this if he does get convicted and the 106 isn't accepted. But either way, our IPCA complaints can only be made for a year from the incident, but given they've dragged it out 18, 20 months, then, you know, we can't make an IPCA complaint about something that's before the courts. They'll just turn around and go, sorry, we can't comment, we can't get involved, it's before the courts at the moment. So you've got to wait for the slow-ass, shit-crap fucking judicial system in New Zealand to go through its fucking process just to try and get some sort of answers from someone else. But it's not over. Anyway, I'm going to sign out for now. We can do a quick trip through the old powers of editing and do a quick trip out to Papakura, and then we'll see how we go, guys. Catch you very shortly.
Sorry, to go through the bag. Sorry? Is it okay to go through the bag?
Yeah, sure.
It's a lighter. Speed.
Yeah, that's all good.
Just the When's the renovations finish out here?
Never.
Good answer. Yeah, mate. It's so first. Just the middle one, mate. Those are just magnet ones. Yeah, that's it. Cheers, bro. All good?
You don't have to worry about it.
Just no. It's cool group one, but I don't know. Is there a registry open?
What do you guys have?
Just a judgment. It was moved from Manukau out to here.
Oh, okay.
Judge Jane Lovell Smith, is she out here today?
Yeah, she is.
That'll be why. She has to be bound to the case. And we're wondering why they're moving jurisdiction out here just from the judgment.
Yeah.
I was thinking, we're following the judge. But his name's not on the board, so yeah. So how do we? Who's the registrar? Is there a registrar?
If you just want to head over to the office,
We-
out next door.
Out next door. Cheers. Sorry. How are you, Harry?
How are you,
See you, bro.
Doing well? Yeah, good one, good. Waiting, mate, it's not on the board. Surely not again.
No, so we've already seen the registrar and she doesn't know if it's in courtroom 1 or 2, so we're just waiting to hear the name yelled out. I take it we're just following Jane around the district.
Yeah, I think that,
She's out here.
I don't know what happened last week, last time, but they probably just picked the earliest date that she was available, hearing these things. So they checking, are they?
Sorry?
The registrar checking.
Well, we went and checked with them, they had a look and they couldn't give me an answer whether it's 1 or 2, but only one courtroom's being used for family court, the other courtroom's not, so I think it's courtroom 1. He'll figure it out for us.
Nothing further that anyone wants to raise before I get back to someone?
No, we'll go.
Please, thank you, Mr. Bell, and Mr. Adams, and Mr. Keynes for Kensington.
Yes.
Now, I've got, it's going to take quite a while. I'm going to read it out. I'm not going to quote all of the law that I've referred to, but I will read it out for you. It will be subsequently transcribed, but I will add tidy up bits of the legal references, that sort of thing. But in the interest of actually basically telling you what it's all about, I'll proceed without referring to necessary to the citations and that sort of thing. Mr. Adams, you face 3 charges. First of all, that on the 16th of July 2022 at Auckland Airport in a public place, namely Auckland Airport, behaved in a disorderly manner, a charge laid under Section 4, subsection 1A of the Summary Offences Act 1981. A further charge also at Auckland Airport on the same day that you resisted Chivalry Constable here contemplating the execution of his duty. And a third charge, also on the same day, arising out of the same events in Auckland Airport. You were trespassed on the 16th of July 2022, and after being warned to leave that place, you were Auckland Airport by Constable Cherie here, and occupy, you refused to do so. And that charge was laid under Section 3, Subsection 1 and 11, Subsection 2A of the Trespass Act 1980. Now you pleaded not guilty to all those charges, and they proceeded as a defendant hearing. I did advise you that subsequently that on the 5th of December that I found all three charges proven. Because of the lack of time, I was unable to give you my decision in full, and so this is the reason why we're here today, so I can have got the ability to read it out to you. I have recorded in my decision that Mr. Adams, you were accompanied by Mr. Keane as your Mackenzie friend throughout the course of the hearing, which was split over 3 days, and I'm going to refer to you in the third person because that's what I've written. Mr. Adams provided both written submissions and oral submissions which are read into the record. So that's the background to it. It was agreed between the parties that yourself and Mr. Bell that the CCTV footage from the Auckland Airport of the incident and Mr. Adams's phone camera was merged together by consent for the purposes of the evidence presented to the court. And that enabled any potential gaps in the footage obviously to be filled by either your footage, Mr. Adams, or Auckland Airport's. The audio itself was solely from your footage, Mr. Adams, and the witnesses for both the prosecution and yourself referred at length to these videos which were played throughout the evidence of each witness. Just with regard to what we call, and I know that you're familiar with it, what we call the onus and standard of proof. In every criminal case, the starting point is the presumption of the defendant's innocence, and everyone is innocent until proven guilty. And the presumption of innocence meant, Mr. Adams, that you did not have to provide evidence and did not have to establish your innocence. Rather, it's the duty of the prosecution to prove the alleged charges occurred, and that is known as the onus or burden of proof. Furthermore, the charges must have been proved beyond a reasonable doubt, which is known as the standard of proof, which is a high threshold. And means that I must be sure that the alleged charges have been proven. And it will only be met if, having considered all the relevant evidence, which I have done, that I'm satisfied that these charges have been proven beyond reasonable doubt. I will deal with each charge separately. There will obviously some duplication in the evidence because a lot of it, of course, is taken from the combined CCTV footage and the audio from the phone. I'll turn first to the disorderly behaviour charge, and I'll just read that out. Section 4, subsection 1A of the Summary Offences Act states that every person is liable to a fine not exceeding $1,000 who, in or within view of any public place, behaves in an offensive or disorderly manner. There are no cases that explicitly spell out the elements of the charge. Rather, the cases show how contextual this charge is. Section 2, subsection 1 of the Summary Offences Act, which is the interpretation section, defines a public place as a place that at any material time is open to or being used by the public, whether free or on payment of a charge, and whether any owner or occupier of the place is lawfully entitled to exclude or reject any person from that place, and includes any aircraft, hovercraft, ship, ferry, or vessel, train, or vehicle carrying or available to carry passengers or on board. You were charged with disorderly rather than being offensive. The summary contained in the head note as to this charge is contained in a Supreme Court decision of Booker and the police. And the head note of the judgment, the report of the judgment, records that Section 4, subsection 1A of the Summary Offences Act, read consistently with Section 14 of the New Zealand Bill of Rights Act, was intended to protect public order. For behaviour to be disorderly, it had to be disruptive of public order in the particular circumstances and time and place. The fact that the conduct in that case was in a residential area might be relevant in my understanding of the facts, but could not be determinative. The fact that the conduct involved a genuine exercise of the right to freedom of expression was also relevant. Private annoyance, even serious annoyance, was not sufficient. And there had to be anxiety or disturbance beyond what reasonable citizens should, in all the circumstances, be expected to hear. So under the section, the conduct in question would have to be deliberate and not accidental or involuntary. I turn now to the evidence in relation to the charge of disorderly behaviour. And the first witness was Miss Lovell, a supervisor for Swissport, which is a crane handler for Jetstar. On the day of the alleged vending, she was working in the domestic terminal and was in charge of checking and boarding bags and the entire process of passenger check-in. On 16 July 2022, she was serving Mr. Adams, who was a customer on the cancelled Jetstar JQ295 flight to Queenstown. The cancellation was due to there being no crew to operate the flight. Her evidence was that all passengers were informed of the cancellation via a text message. When Mr. Adams approached her at the counter, she said that he had reacted very, very poorly. He wasn't happy about the cancellation. He took videos of myself and staff that were there. He was demanding to get on another flight to Queenstown, and he said he was not going to leave without a flight. In his evidence, Chief Mr. Adams had said that he got to the airport about 7:30 a.m. on the 16th of July 22, and when he was having trouble at the check-in kiosk, he decided to wait in line to be served by a Jetstar staff member. It was while waiting in line for about 20 minutes that he said he received a text message from Jetstar saying that the flight was cancelled. His evidence was that he began questioning Mr. Lovell about why the flight was cancelled. Understandably, this was frustrating for Mr. Adams, who stated he booked this holiday for his wife and himself 6 months prior. Just before Mr. Adams began filming Miss Lovell, she said that when Mr. Adams was informed he would catch the next flight, which would either be later the same day or the next day, he did not respond well to this. She said, and I quote from her evidence. So because he didn't respond quite well to the reaction or the response that I gave him about the next option being his next flight, he took videos of me and other passengers as well. So for me, I had to step back and then call security and the police to take over. Mr. Adams contended that he was never given any optional information about the next flight that he could catch, but rather that Ms. Lovell stopped serving him and did not allow any other Jetstar staff to serve him. Ms. Lovell said that Mr. Adams had told her he was a Jetstar member and could organise his own crew to operate the flight. Mr. Adams said in his evidence that he was the one who asked Ms. Lovell if he could go and organise his own cabin crew instead. The video was played, and this is a direct quote from the video. Mr. Adams, could you pause there? Okay, prior to me taking my own video of the service from Jetstar, I asked her why the flight was cancelled. She said she had no cabin crew, so I asked her, well, shall I organise a cabin crew? To which she said, yes, organise your own cabin crew. I did let her know that I was a Jetstar member. Maybe it was her interpretation thinking I was a Jetstar staff that I could organise a cabin crew. So then I proceeded to go and organise a cabin crew, and to which we could play it. This is how the events unfolded. And the reason why I took my own video was to document for my own safety and my own recording as to what the service I received from the Jetstar staff. I didn't know she was the manager at this time, and he asked for that to be played. There was some issue as to who said that Mr. Adams was going to organise the cabin crew first, but that is not particularly, that is not really of any relevance. But regardless of what was said by Ms. Lovell or by Ms. Adams, Mr. Adams' phone footage showed that he started filming after having gone to an Air New Zealand counter and then returning to Jetstar to tell Ms. Lovell that he would organise his own crew. And that this is where his video footage commenced. Once Ms. Lovell knew she was being filmed and that he was filming other staff and customers she had called security, she recalled that Mr. Adams started filming another elderly passenger, which can be seen in both the CCTV footage and Mr. Adams' recordings. She said that she recalled that when he was recording one of the passengers that was behind him, because I was going to serve him, because he didn't want anyone else to come to the counter, he, Mr. Adams, stopped everyone from coming towards me. So I remember what Mr. Adams said to the elderly gentleman that was behind him, asking for his name, asking for his rights, and he had no right to speak to him at all. She confirmed that it was Mr. Adams who was being hostile towards the elderly gentleman, which the CCTV footage and Mr. Adams' recording confirms. Mr. Adams endeavoured to suggest that Ms. Lovell could not really hear what was being said to the elderly gentleman, but her response was that she was well and truly close enough to their interaction for her to see and hear what was going on. Security then came, and this was the last contact Ms. Lovell had with Mr. Adams. The CCTV footage of Mr. Adams' recording was then played for Ms. Lovell to watch. Her observations of the video footage was as follows. She recognised the person in the video to be herself and confirmed that this was the video footage of the interaction she just described. The video is paused where Mr. Adams says he's organised his own crew through Air New Zealand. Lovell said that, can I say something? Okay, with this part of the video, I find it very strange because first G-Star staff, as he said, a G-Star member, he can organise his own crew to operate the flight. That doesn't make any sense at all. And he went to Air New Zealand to recruit. You can't recruit from Air New Zealand to operate a Jetstar flight. That's not making any sense at all. She confirmed that the people that can be seen in the crew, the queue in the video, were all people waiting to be served who were on the same flight that had been cancelled. She said that they were wanting to come and talk to her because she was the one dealing with the cancellation, but they couldn't get to her because he was blocking the way. She said that she eventually tried to serve the other customers. She said, I was trying to help somebody because at this point, she said she had refused service to Mr. Adams, which she knew that she had a right to do because she described Mr. Adams as being very difficult. So I had given up other passengers who were in the line to come forward. Ms. Piatelli Savanaia was at the time duty supervisor for the airport, which consisted of overseeing staff, filling positions, rotating staff out of positions, landside operations and airport operations. On the day of the alleged offence, she was performing the duty of a monitoring operator, which entailed counter surveillance, checking everyone's Skype access, and also maintaining surveillance of the airport property. She sat in a room full of monitoring operators where the team are reviewing close to 3,000 cameras. She confirmed that she received a call stating there was an unruly passenger due to the cancellation of the Jetstar flight on the morning of 16 July 2022. She said that when she got the call, I brought it up on camera, just as she was being told what was happening. As soon as she ended the call, Nick McIntyre from security had just called through to say he was doing a 3F, which is a foot patrol on the terminals. And when he called through, she happened to see him cross at the bottom of the camera that she currently had up and redirected him to the counter. She continued to follow Mr. McIntyre on the camera and observed that when he got to the counter and approached the agent that was currently there, with regards to what was happening to the cancellation and also the passenger that was there, Nick then stood, if I'm facing the camera in the counter, he stood to the left, so the right side of the counter as you're looking towards the door, and he stood there and was talking to the male, and it's just the aggressiveness, the demeanour, and how he was when he came across when Nick was trying to de-escalate the situation. And it was, I felt for me, it was then I needed to check in with him on the radio before he requested backup from the police. And there's no issue that the person that she was referring to was Mr. Adams. As she had checked in with Nick McIntyre, and the police were called. She said that Skygate is the security company for the airport. The police had queried whether Skygate was in attendance because there would be 5 minutes. The footage was then played for her to confirm that it was the CCTV footage that she had been talking about, and she confirmed that it was, and it was in fact her controlling the camera to film it. The CCTV footage continues all the way through until the police arrive and eventually arrested and placed Mr. Adams into the police vehicle. When the police arrived, she described Mr. Adams' behaviour as just someone angry, and that his behaviour was as hostile to them as it had been towards Mr. McIntyre. With regard to the other passengers in the queue, she said, well, they would be angry asking questions and trying to rebook, but she did not see anyone stand out to be any more angry and aggressive compared to the others who were at the counter. Mr. Adams questioned whether it was truly something to de-escalate when she'd stated certainly there were staff that are trained only to call Skygate when they could not deal with it themselves. He asked about what was exactly escalating the situation, and Ms. Savalia's response was a description of Mr. Adams's hostile nature in filming people. She said it was like someone's face when you're filming. It's almost you're in someone's face, in the comfort space. When the issue was trying to be resolved with you referring to Mr. Adams, it looked as though we were not having the power of it. Mr. Nicholas McIndoe's evidence was that he worked for a company called Centre 1 at the airport, and he was the Skygate security coordinator on 16 July 22 in the morning when this alleged offending occurred. He was commencing a foot patrol in the domestic terminal to look out for any insecurities in the terminal and to see if any passengers needed assistance or help. He had the information in the initial call that he received that there was a disruptive passenger in the check-in area of the domestic Jetstar domestic terminal via the radio. After receiving the call, he went to the checkout area. His evidence was, so when I initially arrived, I saw a male. From what I could see, he was talking to the Jetstar check-in girl. From what I could see, looked to me, because he had his phone up like this, that he was filming her. I took from that he was filming or voice recording the conversation that was going on, and his voice was quite loud, so I could tell that there was a bit of a situation going on. Mr. McIndoe made it clear that he was simply trying to help Mr. Adams and find out what was going on and trying to de-escalate the situation. This can be clearly seen in the video footage, where Mr. McIndoe speaks in a calm manner to Mr. Adams, despite Mr. Adams' obvious hostile behaviour towards him. Mr. McIndoe said, so when I was there initially, my first thing was I felt sorry for the Jetstar employee, so my initial concern was just to move the gentleman, and so we should the duty standards away from her. So I just initially asked if we could step over this way out of the main public area and just have a chat about what was going on. I just wanted to get a feel for what the actual issue was, what was going on, and so I could then proceed to help in any way I could. In his opinion, Mr. Adams was very intimidating, and this can be clearly seen in the video footage, which was played for Mr. McIndoe's evidence. He was asked how he felt, and that Mr. Adams appeared to be standing quite close to him. Mr. Adams's response was, yes, and my back was to the wall, so I know it had nowhere to go. He said he felt pretty intimidated, and he also used the word scared to describe how he felt. Mr. Adams said that the reason he could not comply with Mr. McIndoe's was because he refused to identify himself, and therefore Mr. Adams did not know whether he was truly security or not. Mr. McIndoe confirmed to Mr. Adams that he was the one who had radioed Ms. Savalier to call the police in. It is clear in my view from the video footage that Mr. Adams is hostile and intimidating when interacting with Mr. McIndoe. Mr. McIndoe is wearing a mask the entire video, and it can be heard and seen that Mr. Adams keeps telling him to remove his mask and show his face so he can make him famous on YouTube. When Mr. McIndoe was asked what made him keep his mask on, his response was that as follows. I agree that, we went through many lockdowns. I can't remember exactly when COVID triangles the time requirements, but I'm pretty sure from my memory it was we were supposed to be wearing masks in public places at the time. But so number one COVID concern. But as I said, when I first entered the situation, my concern was for the Jetstar staff member and what she'd done to deserve being filmed and put up on YouTube. And I guess by the end of it, that was my concern for myself, for my own safety. Why should I be on YouTube? What have I done? I didn't say he could put me on YouTube. Yeah, I didn't know who could see this, who the consequences for me down the line if this got into the wrong hands, and things like my own safety and my family's safety. When questioning Mr. Adams, when Mr. Adams was questioning Mr. McIndoe, he pointed out that he was not a trained security guard, which Mr. McIndoe did concede at the first opportunity. Mr. Adams also pointed out that Mr. McIndoe had failed to identify himself when he had been asked to do so, which is also seen on the video footage. Mr. McIndoe's reply was, when asked why he hadn't identified himself, what he asked was that he didn't remember not identifying himself. Mr. Adams said that his identification was flipped, and that he did ask, could you flip it so he could identify Mr. McIndoe as a security officer. Mr. McIndoe's response was, well, I guess I just felt because you were filming me, I didn't want my name, all over YouTube or anything like that. Mr. Adams then said to him, even though you're getting filmed from all the cameras on the airport, you realise that. Mr. McIndoe's response, yeah, but that's not for people on YouTube. And Mr. Adams' response was fair enough. Mr. Adams also queried McIndoe, about whether the airport was a private, not a public place, and where Mr. Adams was not allowed to film. However, irrespective of whether Mr. Adams was allowed to film or not, it is the surrounding circumstances of the filming and the hostile and aggressive nature of his behaviour, which is clearly shown on the video, that despite those he was filming expressing that they did not want to be filmed, that brings into question whether it was disorderly or not. Thus, even if Mr. Adams was allowed to film, the nature of his behaviour, along with the filming, is still able to make the behaviour disorderly. With regard to Constable Schuster's evidence, he's a senior police constable stationed at the Ontario Police Station, and on the day of the event he was stationed at Auckland Airport. His role was to keep the peace at Auckland Airport, ensuring the safety and security of staff as well as the public. When questioning Constable Schuster, Mr. Adams maintained that his behaviour could not be described as disorderly. And the relevant points from his cross-examination of Constable Schuster are as follows. Mr. Schuster questioned Constable Schuster on what his behaviour was like when he first arrived, what was his demeanour when he first approached. Constable Schuster's response was, when I approached you, it was during maybe the first 5 seconds. It was okay because I was still assessing your behaviour at the time, so it was okay at the beginning. Mr. Adams said, well, yes, so were you compensating? Mr. Schuster said, yes, we were talking in that. Mr. Adams said, yeah. Mr. Schuster responded, short period. Mr. Adams said, we were compensating, we weren't arguing. There was no sort of, I was aggressive, I was argumentative. Did you get that from me? Mr. Schuster said your tone at the time was a little bit, I know it felt you were a little bit annoyed at something, but I was okay because considering the circumstances. Mr. Schuster said, yeah, I was okay by that. As I said, I was there to assess what was happening. You asked me for identification number, which I cooperated in giving you. Mr. Adams asked him, was I disorderly? My behaviour wasn't disorderly when you approached me. Mr. Schuster said, when I approached you initially, no, but then there were questions in my mind as to why you were recording the staff member. And based on that information that was said by medical monitoring, why were you filming other people? So there was that information, and he said he was still trying to paint a picture of his persona. He said, guess and demeanour. Mr. Adams continued to press Mr. Schuster on whether his behaviour was disorderly. He asked, did you say I was recording the Jetstar lady when I was recording in public? Why were you called? Mr. Schuster said, yes, that's the reason. Mr. Schuster said it was one of the reasons, because Mr. Adams was filming in public. Mr. Adams said it was one of them, but did you see any disorderly behaviour? So again, so if you're asking, if I hear what Mr. Schuster said, but he was saying what he saw at the time. Basically, I saw you recording a Jetstar member, a female, over a female. That's what I saw initially. At what point, Mr. Adams repeated, did I become disorderly at all? Mr. Schuster said, I think once Senior Constable started correcting you in relation to the phone, giving you instructions and corrections, you were arguing, and yes, things started to escalate in regard to your behaviour. Mr. Schuster said he couldn't speak about the general public, but from his perception, it already affected staff, like the Jetstar staff, and based on our interaction, he said he could see things were getting quite dramatic. Mr. Adams responded that that was after that she, the constable at Lunchton, tried to grab the phone. Mr. Schuster said it was all around the time he went following the instructions of Constable here. And he remembers, recalls her instructions clearly that Constable here had told Mr. Adams basically not to record her and to move. Based on what was happening, Mr. Schuster said to us was that Mr. Adams' behaviour at the time that they were assessing it had escalated to the point that he was argumentative. He wasn't listening to the directions given by Senior Constable here, and Constable here had decided to trespass you. The arguments with you carried on, with Mr. Adams carried on. Mr. Adams wasn't cooperative, even being just asked to move to the side. He didn't comply. Mr. Constable here arrested him, placed a handcuff on him. He resisted arrest by tightening his arms. He was getting very angry. They were in a place where it wasn't a good place, so he was forced to level with things like get out of the hand. And so Constable Schuster made the decision to remove Mr. Adams outside. Again, when Constable here tried to handcuff him, he remained controlling Mr. Adams' other arm. He wouldn't cooperate, and even after he'd been advised he was being arrested, Mr. Adams was resisting. And after that, he said to believe that Mr. Adams did cooperate and place his arms at the back when he was cooperating, when he was handcuffed. Turning now to Constable Spears' evidence, she was a police constable. She said that she was working with the legal person the Schuster, when they were called to the West Terminal, as they had been advised, it was for a male who was being disorderly, and they were called by monitoring over the airport radio, police radio, and she wrote in her notebook disorderly male prior to going to the incident. Constable here then commented on the footage. She confirmed it was her in the video that was being played. She was explained she was being visited with Constable Schuster to give an ID to Mr. Adams, who was demanding it. She said that we arrived together at the domestic terminal, Jetstar in for disorderly behaviour job, male filming people, members of the public. We approached Mr. Adams and Constable Schuster asked him for his ID. First Mr. Adams asked him his ID, which he gave, and then Mr. Adams came up to me and said, "And yours?" It's not normal practice for a police officer to wear the blue ID on the street or anywhere else except in the police station. That they only have them here for airport security reasons under the CAA rules. So wearing it on their vests is for security reasons, not for the public to demand it, as Mr. Adams did. She said her QID was on her shoulder and that was her identification. She could see her after speaking to Mr. McIndoe, the Skygate security officer first, and prior to her being filmed by Mr. Adams, that something had gone back when we did the job of Skygate security. They approached the problem with us and talked with us and see it through with us. But something had gone wrong for Mr. McIndoe not to approach the supporters of our role. Was supporting Skygate security as the role. Mr. McIndoe had said that he had asked Mr. Adams to stop filming. She was asked why she also wanted Mr. Adams to stop filming and be aside. Her evidence was that she had asked him over and over again to stop recording. It was almost hindering her duties, she said, to have a cell phone with her phone while she's trying to ask Mr. Adams to move away from the Jetstar counter so that airline procedures can continue with booking and other passengers for their flights. It was very congested around there, and as you can be seen on the video, lots of other people wanting to get onto their flight or book a flight that was being disrupted by Mr. Adams and his actions. She said that she'd asked them to move to the side when there was more room and more appropriate to be engaged with someone rather than right in the middle of the situation with other members of the public. She said she touched Mr. Adams after asking him several times to stop recording, and after he had also been asked to stop recording by others. She said she was told over and over that she was very rude, as Mr. Adams kept popping that into his conversation with Senior Constable Schuster. He had directed the phone at her while speaking to Senior Constable Schuster, and it was just popping on the word that she was very rude. So she took it upon herself to redirect his hand, which is part of her training. They learned about redirecting in certain circumstances with this person's body or object. It was her perception that if she redirected his phone, that perhaps he would understand that she did not want his phone to be recording anymore, and nor should it be, because he was there and was in a private place. The constable here confirmed that she stated her QID was available on her shoulder for Mr. Adams to see. And she also, in response to a question from Mr. Adams, why did you ask me not to record? Her answer was, I've been given a direction from medical monitoring over police radio, as was said to Constable Schuster. We both heard to go to the domestic journal Jetstar End for a disorderly male who was filming members of the public. When we got there, I could clearly see we were recording members of the public and the Jetstar operations manager leaning over a female at the counter. Who I asked you, were you with that female? And you said no, so that's the kind of why here, and it's not allowed again, therefore to be filmed in such a manner that you were. That's why I stopped. Asked you to stop recording. She gave the example that if you were at the airport saying goodbye to your son and you're waving off and you're filming someone or someone's filming saying see you in September Johnny, that's a different situation. But in this situation, the direction that you were filming was being disorderly and disrupting the processes of the flights, the Jetstar flight staff, and the members of the public in the queue. She said that Mr. Evans was filming her closer than a metre. And she considered it to be in her face and in her personal space as a person. It was her right, she said, to ask him to stop filming her. When asked by Mr. Adams was he disorderly at the time she turned up, Constable here said, referred to Mr. Adams as leaning over the counter with your phone, filming the Jetstar lady, yes. Leaning over other members of the public, while she, that's the Jetstar lady, is trying to organise the ticket, yes. And then being quite loud and obnoxious, saying, you can't touch me. And just general manner was, I consider you at that point to be at the beginning of disorderly behaviour. And like I said, I've been asked to go to the job to disorderly male. So, and then once I was there, after the fact, I went about doing my investigation and to get my evidence together for the incident. When asked by Mr. Adams, you weren't called because a gentleman was recorded in the public, her response was yes, disorderly. Mr. Adams then asked, you were called because he was being disorderly. She said, I was called to the job because of a disorderly male recording members of the public duties, which was not allowed at the airport. And then Constable here referred to the video, and in particular the incident relating to an elderly gentleman. She said to Mr. Adams it was the one that he had referred to as Lovell, etc. And that she regarded as extremely disorderly. She said it was not the normal behaviour of a person. She said that Mr. Adams was hindering the alarm process, annoying everybody, filming the Jetstar operations manager was trying to do during duty, leaning across other members of the public over the counter to film, and that he was, Mr. Adams was being obnoxious and argumentative. Mr. Adams asked her whether he was argumentative and trying to explain his rights. Constable's here response was argumentative, just declining every request and then declining every direction. He then asked Constable Clare whether she could require him to stop recording in a place like Auckland Domestic Airport. Her response was, there's several incidents at the airport in several areas where you may see people filming, and when, as my role, I can say, could you please stop filming, it's not allowed at the airport, and the person would say, sorry about that, and put their phone away. However, in this case, it was a different scenario. You totally declined to do so, and you wouldn't oblige in any way, even with reasoning. So you may ask your question, are you obliged to follow direction? Most people do because they're obliging people to cooperate with the police. When Mr. Adams' phone footage in the airport, or the airport CCTV footage is shown, all the footage shows that Mr. Adams, in my view, was clearly in plain sight of the general public, was holding up and delaying other passengers being served by Mr. Lovell, was aggressive, intimidating and hostile towards both Mr. McIndoe and the elderly gentleman that he accosted. All three people, Mr. Farley, Mr. McIndoe and the elderly gentleman, did not want to be filmed, or at least showed serious discomfort in being filmed, yet Mr. Adams continued to film them in an intimidating manner. The elderly unnamed gentleman was standing in the queue with several other passengers, and clearly Mr. Adams' behaviour would have been both seen and heard by other members of the public waiting in the queue. At around the 2-minute mark in the video, Mr. Adams holds his phone in the elderly gentleman's face, speaking aggressively to him in front of several passengers. And I quote directly with time stamps on the video to show the threatening and intimidating nature of the language that Mr. Adams used towards the elderly gentleman. At 1:05 to 1:20, after the elderly gentleman asked Mr. Adams, don't take the photograph, Mr. Adams replied, I'm entitled to take this, mate. You want to open your mouth? Now let's go. Let's go. Come on, mister. Want to open up your mouth? You will see yourself on YouTube, mate. Obviously you haven't heard of me, mate. At 1:22 to 10 minutes past 2, the elderly gentleman asked Mr. Adams to leave and go get himself sorted. Mr. Adams replies, but you called me over, mate. Where were you this morning? I went to go and organise a cabin crew in New Zealand, which Miss Lovell, he referred to the woman at the desk, asked me to do. So I done that. You wanted to call me over now, big man. Act like a big man. All right, got me. Understand me. Next time just zip it and stay out of my business. You understand me? Your name is what? No name, Mr. Blinky Bill. The video footage from 2:15 to 5:50 showed Mr. Adams going on to explain that he planned this for 6 months. Then he says, now, you don't need to look at anyone else. Look at the camera, smile and say your name. You don't want to now, so next time, stay out of my business. You understand me? You feel me? You got me? Yeah, understand that, mate. Between 2:52 and 3 p.m. on the CCTV footage, Mr. Adams once again brings up making the elderly gentleman famous and says, you don't want to say your name, I've given you the opportunity, you're going to be famous. After this incident, Mr. Adams can be seen cutting into the queue again on the CCTV footage and trying to engage with other Jetstar members, which also slows down and halts the service to the other passenger. Mr. Lovell then comes back to the counter and Mr. Adams starts to film him again. Mr. Lovell clearly states, yes, next one please, requesting the next passenger to come to be served. But Mr. Adams replies saying, yeah, that's me. You can clearly see on the CCTV footage, 2 other passengers walk towards the counter and then step away because Mr. Adams cuts in between them and the counter, stopping them from being able to be served. Mr. Adams then steps away from the other Jetstar counter but continues filming Miss Lovell and says to her, you're going to be world famous, trust me. This is when Mr. McIndoe comes into the footage. It is clear that Mr. McIndoe is trying to help and assist Mr. Adams by asking in a calm manner what the problem issue was. However, Mr. Adams is instantly rude to him, but attempts to disrupt him when Mr. McIndoe tries to talk into his radio. It is clear from the CCTV footage that the other passengers were watching all of this and that they could hear and see what was going on, as what was taking place was in plain sight of the passenger queue. They then step away from most of the members of the public, and Mr. Adams has Mr. McIndoe with his back to the wall, continuing to film them, while holding the camera in Mr. McIndoe's face, and clearly being a much bigger person than Mr. McIndoe, Mr. Adams continues to film him, saying, "Cause I tell you what, I'm going to make you famous in New Zealand." Mr. McIndoe's response was, "I'm here to help you." Mr. Adams continuously asks Mr. McIndoe to show him his ID so he can make him famous. His behaviour was very hostile, aggressive and intimidating. Despite Mr. Adams' behaviour towards him, and it was particularly intimidating, Mr. McIndoe in return tries to stay as calm as possible. The next CCTV part of the footage is filmed away from the general public, but there's some relevance to Mr. Adams's behaviour and language. In the footage between 5:25 and 6:16, Mr. Adams says, "You don't know the issue, so next time you want to butt your nose in, you got me, you film me." Mr. McIndoe said, "I'm here to help." Mr. Adams says, "No, you're not. So you're not a police officer, so what are you, security guard?" Mr. McIndoe, "That's what I said." Mr. Adams, "Security guard, are you? Well, you know what? You ain't got shit, mate. You look at this and you look at the law and you think I don't know the law." Mr. McIndoe, "All I'm here to do is to help you." Mr. Adams, "No, you're not. You're here to try and remove me." Mr. McIndoe, "No, I wasn't." Mr. Adams, "Yes, you are, and I'd like to see you try." "All right, well, I'm going back there. Stay away from me. When the cops come, I'll address them as well. Do not ever tell me I cannot film in public. You will be world famous." Mr. Adams then walks back over to Mr. Lovell's counter and is now once again inside the public in the queue. He continues to film her despite a passenger not being served by her. Mr. Lovell clearly states, "We are not giving you any consent to being filmed." Mr. Adams then completely disrupts the passenger receiver service and starts to argue with him, not needing any consent to film her, despite her saying she does not want to be filmed by him. He claims he gets his law education from watching all that's been said on YouTube. This is all taking place while the queue is still long and 2 passengers are seen standing at the counter very awkwardly as Mr. Adams continues to argue with Mr. Lovell. 2 other passengers slowly start to back away from the counter. The CCTV shows that Mr. Adams then says, "I'm a Jetstar member. I went down to NZ to organise a cabin crew. Mr. Lovell, where's the cabin crew you went to organise? Mr. Adams, down there. They got New Zealand uniforms and all ready to go. He told me to go organise it. I went down there, spoke to them nicely, and they said they're more than happy to bring up their queue. That's what they told me, but they don't want to put the uniforms on. Mr. Lovell, you sound very stupid right now. You think organising a cabin crew for another flight, another airline will operate another aircraft? It is clear that this entire time, Mr. Lovell was no longer able to serve two passengers that were with her, and both those passengers slowly gravitated away from the argument and clearly showed that they were uncomfortable and were not able to be served. There was still a queue of other passengers that were being halted from service too, as a direct result of Mr. Adams continuously cutting into the queue and arguing with Ms. Lovell. Mr. Adams then pans the camera to Mr. McIndoe, who's standing a little distance away, and makes sarcastic and demeaning comments towards him in the immediate proximity of the other two passengers that Mr. McIndoe was serving. Not long after this, the CTV shows Constable Schuster and he arriving at the scene. Once again, Mr. Adams continues filming and talking in a loud, obnoxious manner towards the constables while still in close proximity to the public. The constables tried calmly move him away from the public area initially, but Mr. Adams stubbornly refuses. After several requests by Constable here for Mr. Adams to turn his phone, Mr. Adams ignores and the request and still continues to record. Eventually, Constable here, after trying to find out what the issue were, tries to redirect and grab Mr. Adams' phone to stop him filming. It is this point in the video, 12:05. Constable here signals to Mr. McIndoe to issue a trespass, and she tells Mr. Adams he has now been trespassed. They then continuously ask Mr. Adams to sit outside, and he refuses. The two passengers are still at the same counter and are clearly observing and hearing the interaction, which was in plain sight the public and other passengers in the queue. As Brooke and the police stated, conduct that amounts to disorderly behaviour in terms of section 718 requires proof of a form of disturbance to public order. It also states that there had to be anxiety and disturbance to fall beyond what a reasonable citizen should in all circumstances be expected to bear. To fall within that particular section, it must be behaviour in or within the view of a public place, which substantially disturbs the normal functioning of life and the environments of that place. I found the evidence of Mr. Lovell, Constable Schuster, Constable here, and Mr. McIndoe to be credible and honest. These events took place in a domestic airport. Several passengers' flights have been cancelled, are waiting to be served and rebooked. Mr. Adams' behaviour was clearly within view of passengers, public, and it certainly disturbed the normal functioning of life for people who simply wished the queue to move forward so they could be served. In particular, I take into account the high level of aggression and rudeness, which is part of the CCT footage and not challenged, of Mr. Adams' interaction with Mr. Lovell in front of the other passengers. The intimidating, demeaning, aggressive and hostile manner in which he interacted with both the elderly gentleman and Mr. McIndoe, again in front of the other passengers in the queue. Mr. Evans' constant cutting into the line of the queue to get back to the counter, disrupting other passengers who Mr. Mafali was endeavouring to serve, demonstrates that his behaviour disrupted the normal and reasonable expectations that people would have coming to the airport. I'm satisfied that Mr. Evans' behaviour both towards Mr. McIndoe and the elderly gentleman caused them anxiety beyond what both these reasonable citizens should have been expected to bear. The disturbance caused by Mr. Evans' interaction with Mrs. Mafali, including the filming and his aggression, was also beyond what she and the passengers she was trying to serve would be expected to bear. It's clear that upon arrival of Constable Schuster and Heather both already gathered enough information to conclude that he was acting in a disorderly manner. However, they both endeavoured to talk with him, but he would not follow the instructions in plain sight of the public, and this is further added to his disorderly behaviour. Although there is no mens rea element to this charge, Mr. Evans said his sole intention was to document what he said was the poor service he was receiving from Jetstar. However, his behaviour and demeanour was hostile and aggressive and personally directed towards Mr. Mafali, Mr. McIndoe and the unidentified elderly gentleman, which is clearly shown in the video. From the outset of the cell phone footage, he states to Mr. Mafali this is going to go on YouTube, and he was very clear that he was going to also put Mr. McIndoe and the elderly gentleman all up on YouTube, which he said several times in his video, and as was his intention, that he said to make famous. I acknowledge the circumstances Mr. Evans found himself in were not ideal and highly inconvenient, and his flight was cancelled. His behaviour in response went far beyond what was reasonable in the circumstances and disrupted public order. Mr. Evans' hostility and aggression was aimed at people who were simply trying to do their jobs, which Mr. Evans himself understands and accepted in cross-examination. And for these reasons, I find that the charge of disorderly behaviour is proven beyond reasonable doubt. I turn now to the charge of trespass. Section 3 of the Trespass Act states that every person commits an offence against this Act who trespasses on any place, and after being warned to leave that place and unoccupy that place, neglects or refuses to do so. Subsection 2, it shall be a defence to a charge under subsection 1 if the defendant proves it was necessary for him to remain in or on the place concerned for his own protection or for the protection of some other person, or because of some emergency involving his property or the property of some other person. Two important terms need to be defined, and they are occupied and place. In section 2, the interpretation section of the Trespass Act defines occupy as in relation to any place or land, means any person in lawful occupation of that place or land, and includes any employee or other person acting under the authority of any person in lawful occupation of that place or land. In terms of Section 29 of the Interpretation Act 1999, this defines a person as including a corporation, sole or body corporate, and unincorporated body. The elements of a charge under Section 3, subsection 1 of the Transport Act were set out in Crockenville Police an appeal decision from the District Court. There are 3 elements to a charge of trespass which must be proved beyond reasonable doubt. First, the person charged was trespassing. Secondly, the person charged was warned to leave that place by the occupier, and thirdly, he neglected all efforts to do so. It must also be noted that the mens rea element requires the prosecution to prove beyond reasonable doubt that the defendant intentionally trespassed, that is, the defendant knowingly and willfully refused or neglected to leave the property when required to do so. If the 3 elements are proven beyond reasonable doubt, then Mr. Adams must then show that he had a honest belief that he had the right to continue being at the airport, because he honestly believed in a set of facts which, if true, would have meant he was not trespassing. The evidence of Mr. McIndoe, Constable Schuster, and Constable here is relevant for this charge, including the CCTV footage. Mr. McIndoe's evidence was that Mr. McIndoe had a brief conversation about the situation and with the police, and he saw the police approach Mr. Adams. His evidence was, so initially a female police officer asked the male as Mr. Adams to and it was at that point I saw some verbal interaction going on, and then the female officer asked me to start writing out a trespass notice from the male. And again they moved him over to the side where I was as well, just to keep him away from the public area. And here a male became quite argumentative with the police, which at this stage, trying to get their ID and badge numbers and all of that, filming them, at which stage the female officer proceeded to handcuff the male. He described getting the trespass notice for the police to issue, and this occurred at about the 12-minute point in the video. However, as can be seen in the video, the constable here eventually verbally trespassed Mr. Adams instead. And in my view, this is a valid form of trespass. As Section 5 of the Trespass Act provides that a trespass notice can be given orally. Constable Schuster described his responsibilities as constable stationed at the airport as follows, and I quote from the evidence: so we are, I guess, an agent of the airport, and our job is to keep the peace by dealing with trespass, dealing with arrests, dealing with anything that comes to police attention or airport staff attention in relation to any criminal offending or breaches of the Act. When asked what was his authority and understanding in terms of trespass as a police officer of the airport, Mr. Schuster stated, my understanding is that as an agent of the airport, we can act on behalf of the airport to try to trespass people and leave them. He confirmed he was working with senior constable Shirley here, and that they had received a call about 9:30 a.m. on 16 July 2022 from from the Auckland Airport saying there was a disorderly male at the Jetstar departure area who was from Mr. Constable Schuster confirmed that upon arrival he would see the male filming people, and when he began speaking to the male, and there's no issue that it was Mr. Adams, the male started filming him too and asked for identification. The video footage was then played for Mr. Schuster. He confirmed it was him in the video as one of the constables. Upon arrival, he said that they had simply intended to find out what was happening. The video footage can be summarised as follows. First, after initially trying to find out what's going on, Mr. Schuster, when referring to the video footage, said, if you don't mind stopping the video, his commentary was, so what's happening there is we're having a discussion, but the discussions are getting a little bit out of hand. It's becoming argumentative with the defendant. He is still constantly recording as well and not listening to the instructions that Cherie here is giving him. So I can only describe the defendant's behaviour provocative at the time, and here that is still, because we're standing, is basically the public area of Jetstar, and it's, as you can see, there's other members of the public trying to interact with Jetstar staff. So it wasn't an appropriate place to actually have a discussion with the defendant at that place. He also identified a portion of the video which showed that Constable here was trespassing the defendant, and that what happened after that was basically he assisted her to move the defendant away from the area. He said that he asked the defendant to basically move as well, and that the defendant remained still uncooperative and argumentative with the police and the directions given by Senior Constable here. So they had moved the defendant a little bit away from the Jetstar staff member as well as other people waiting on the queue. Mr. Schuster said he did not know what Kiwibank's word was at the time of the arrest. And it was the channel that Mr. Adams kept referring to when he said that his footage that he would put the people he was filming up on YouTube and make them famous. Mr. Adams had a number of questions for Mr. Schuster in cross-examination. The first was, can you describe the process for trespassing a person from the airport? Mr. Schuster responded, first basically told you trespassed. Mr. Adams said that it's verbal. Mr. Schuster said yes, and then you give a reasonable time to trespass. Mr. Adams said, can I adjust? But Mr. Schuster said, sorry, can I finish? Which Mr. Adams allowed him to do. Mr. Schuster said, so you've given a reasonable time, but if it's not practical to do so, then the reasonable time is no question. And pending what action needs to be taken again, it comes down to the police assessment of one or more of those officers. So Mr. Adams asked him, so reasonable time, what do you think reasonable time? And Mr. Schuster's response, so it's not like a time period, it's depending on what's happening at the time. If you were cooperative and compliant with the cooperative, and there was clear communication, there wasn't anything else that was affecting the decision at the time, here it's whatever is reasonable to affect the outcome. And I guess here things just escalated very fast, that's all. Constable's here's evidence was that after several times trying to get Mr. Adams to move from the Rockland public, Mr. Adams refused to move. She had asked Mr. McIntyre to trespass Mr. Adams. Constable here said that then straight away she told him he was trespassed and continued to ask him to move. She was then referred by Mr. Bell to the video footage and asked what was happening. Constable here said that I told him he was trespassed verbally. He was not able to comply with my direction, my request to move him down out of the way. So by now I had decided he really needed to be moved totally from the area. So once again, police are trained that if the person doesn't comply, how else are we going to enforce what we say without being visible with them? As I was, got behind him and directed him. Part of the training that we otherwise no one would do anything, would they, if they were all declining to follow the direction we asked. And again, with reference to the video footage, Ms. Constable here confirmed it recorded her placing Mr. Adams under arrest for trespass. She said prior to that she had warned him that he could be arrested for trespass, particularly trespass and irritating indifference. She was then asked by the prosecutor that following the warning was the arrest what they saw, what was seen on the video, and Constable here replied yes. Constable is here in response to a question that in terms of her role as a police officer at the airport, what's her understanding of the police's authority to issue trespassers at the airport? She said under the airport authority we're given authority to act on as agent. We have a document that stipulates the right for us to be allowed to issue trespass notices, trespass people, and act on a criminal situation. She was referred to a document which was produced, and that was the authority under Section 56 of the Crimes Act 1961 and Trespass Act 1980, dated 25 September 2020, and it's addressed to the officer in charge of New Zealand Police, Auckland Airport. And Constable here confirmed that was the authority she just referred to from the occupied airport to the police to one of the powers being to issue trespass. Mr. Adams questioned Constable here as to whether she trespassed fairly and correctly. Her response was that yep, you were asked to leave, you were asked to move on. A person who declines is told they could be trespassed, and then when they still decline to move, then they can be arrested for trespass. She said that in a response to a question from Mr. Adams as to timing, she said I didn't stop at the time between warning him being warned and him being arrested. But as far as she was concerned, it was reasonable. And under the circumstances, she said, I felt he needed to be removed quite quickly so that the airline could continue operating and get the people rebooked on another flight or whatever they were doing for their work. She was asked if she was aware it was only 47 seconds that had passed, and her response was, no, I wasn't. As she said, she didn't take stock of the time, and she was then asked whether that time was reasonable. Her response was, under the circumstances, yes. Because you, Mr. Adams, needed to be removed from the area as you had been disorderly, disruptive, hindering, and you were trespassed. You needed to be removed so the airline could continue to operate. When the phone footage and Auckland Airport CCTV footage is viewed, both constables can be seen approaching Mr. Adams at around 10:35 of the video. And around 12, after being asked several times to stop recording and to step aside from the counters of the public, constable here can be seen telling Mr. McIndoe to get a trespass notice. It can also be heard on the video, her statement to Mr. Adams, you are being trespassed now. Mr. Adams is asked several more times to step aside and leave the spot that they were standing and arguing. Mr. Adams keeps saying he'll ring his lawyer, who the constable said she now knew to be Mr. King, his Mackenzie friend. Constable Schuster can also be heard saying, just follow her instructions, please. Constable Schuster can then be heard asking Constable here, do you wish to arrest? At the same point, Constable Schuster can be heard to Mr. Adams, you're trespassing. If you don't leave this building right now, you're under arrest. Mr. Adams can be heard saying, arrest me. Yous will get done in court. You obviously do not watch Kiwi orders. I'm ringing Mark, my lawyer. The constable here then states that she was arresting Mr. Adams for trespass, and Mr. Adams is shown on the video repeatedly still refusing to listen to any instructions, saying, no, I'm not, to being repeatedly told that he was trespassing. There's no issue that an airport falls under the definition of a place, and that there's further New Zealand authority that shows trespass can be committed at an airport as it's a place for the purposes of section 3, subsection 1 of the Trespass Act. So, in my view, there'd be no issue that Auckland Airport domestic terminals can be defined as a place. The evidence also clearly shows that the customers have delegated authority to act on behalf of the airport to issue trespasses when necessary. As Constable here stated, the authority to act pursuant to Section 56 of the Crimes Act and the 1961 Trespass Act 1980. Section 56 of the Crimes Act states everyone in peaceable possession of any land or building and everyone lawfully assisting him or her or acting by his or her authority is justified in using reasonable force to prevent any person from trespassing on the land or building or remove him or her therefrom if he or she does not strike or do bodily harm to that person. I am satisfied beyond reasonable doubt that Mr. Adams was able to be trespassed at the airport, and also that the police had delegated authority to trespass him. I acknowledge Mr. Adams' point that by the time the police arrived, he was issued with a verbal trespass and then told he was being arrested, all occurred within a space of 2 to 3 minutes. But when the events that had taken place are looked at as a whole, including the Mr. Adams' aggravating behaviour that had already occurred prior to the arrival of the police, together with the degree of resistance Mr. Adams was demonstrating towards the police. The short time frame does not reflect the pressure the police may have to move Mr. Adams away of the public area. Having regard to the elements of the charge, I find that Mr. Adams was trespassing at the airport and he was told by Constable here he was now trespassing. Mr. Adams was warned several times by Constable here to leave, and that can be seen in the CCTV footage, and Mr. Adams neglected and refused to do so. During cross-examination of Mr. Adams by Mr. Bell, it became clear that Mr. Evans had no cause or reason to believe it was necessary for him to stay at the airport for his own or someone else's protection, for any emergency, for property of his or some other person. He was asked, you were told you were trespassing again, and then you were told you were under arrest for trespass. Do you accept that? Mr. Evans' response, I guess that's the way it works. Mr. Bell, at this point it wasn't necessary for you to remain there for your own protection, was it? Mr. Evans, what do you mean by that? Mr. Bell, you didn't need to remain in the airport after being trespassed for your safety concerns. Mr. Evans, as if I don't understand what you are. Mr. Bell, did you have any safety concerns at this point when you were told you trespassed? That meant you needed to remain. Mr. Evans, safety concerns as Mr. Bell about yourself. Mr. Evans, regards to what? Mr. Bell, did you have, when you were told for trespass, did you have any safety concerns that meant you had to remain at the airport? Mr. Evans, for my family, sorry, I just don't know what. I don't know what you're implying this for. Mr. Bell, you've been trespassed. You've been asked to leave. Do you accept that on the video? Mr. Evans, well, just very vague if I mean. Mr. Bell, the video you just watched. Mr. Evans, okay, yeah. Mr. Bell, we can rewatch it if you like. Mr. Evans, all right. So the video was replayed. Mr. Evans maintained that he couldn't see any clear direction here, and after getting shoved around, and that it was just the moment happened so fast, like I wanted to get it fast. Mr. Bell said, so you accept that your only concern at that point was to get it fast? Mr. Evans, correct. It was clear to me at this point that Mr. Adams thought he was entitled to have the right to stay at the airport due to the mistake of law underlying the fact. And I find this case as analogous to the case at Shadbolt, and that Mr. Adams argued that he was entitled to stay and no information about trespassing was supplied and he was given better service from Jetstar. It was clear to me that Mr. Adams was mistaken as to his legal rights in this situation. But he was under no genuine mistake about the facts. Therefore, the common law defence of honest belief does not apply. The moment the trespass notice was issued, Mr. Adams had to leave the premises and he did not do so. And for those reasons, I'm satisfied beyond reasonable doubt that this charge is frivolous. The charge, I'll now turn to the charge of resisting arrest. Section 23, subsection A of some Offences Act states, every person is liable to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 3 months or a fine not exceeding $2,000 who assists or intentionally obstructs or incites or encourages any other person to resist or obstruct any constable or any authorised officer or any prison officer or traffic officer acting in the execution of its duty. Whilst resist is not defined in the Summary Offences Act, Adams on criminal law states that although any resistance is most likely to also amount to obstruction, the term resist invariably requires some degree of force on the part of the offender, such as the physical reaction of being resisted. The term carries with it the idea of opposing by force some course of action which the person resisted is attempting to pursue. need not amount to assault, clinging to an object to prevent an officer removing the defendant from suffice. With regard to the execution of duty, Adams on common law states that it does not require the constable's execution of duty to be instructed. It requires a constable who is in the execution of his or her duties to be intentionally instructed. The words in the execution of his duty simply imply that the constable must be acting bona fide in the exercise of powers vested in him or her as a constable, even if the constable was mistaken as the offence that gave rise to the exercise of power. Mens rea is necessary to all ingredients of this offence, which means the defendant must be shown to have intended to impose what the constable was doing. And similar to trespass, the honestly held belief must be in a state of fact, not law. So, to establish this charge, the prosecution must prove 6 essential things. First of all, the constable here is a constable, that is a police constable. That Mr. Adams knew she was a police officer. The constable here was acting in the execution of her duty. That Mr. Adams knew constable here was acting in the execution of her duty. That Mr. Adams in fact resisted constable duty, care in the execution of his duty, and that Mr. Adams intended to resist her in the execution of her duty. The evidence relevant to this charge was from Ms. Southern here, Mr. McIndoe, Constable Schuster, and Constable Hare. Ms. Southern here provided a relevant statement in her evidence in chief when she was asked how Mr. Adams was going with the police, when she stated not willing, but anything it was like he was trying to put up a fight. Mr. McIndoe's evidence was that when being arrested, Mr. McIndoe saw Mr. Adams resisting them, that they had no right to trespass him, and that they knew his rights. In particular, Mr. McIndoe describes Mr. Adams eventually handing the phone over to another female, who he instructed to continue filming him as the struggle to arrest him continued outside of the camera, as seen in the footage. When Mr. McIndoe said that he wondered whether he should assist or not, but a colleague had told him he could not. He was asked by Mr. Bell why he thought he should assist, and his response was, the police just appeared to be struggling so much to get the other handcuff on. I guess I was also scared what could happen if the male was able to break loose at any stage and get away. Constable Schuster described that what happened after the trespass was issued as follows. When he said, so when the senior constable has arrested the defendant by telling him that he has the left hand, we confirmed that he had trespassed prior to that. The video, the CCTV footage showed that the defendant continued to be uncooperative, beating and argumentative. And as the video proceeds, as Mr. Bell said in his examination, he believes that Mr. Adams began resisting arrest by his actions that followed on the CCTV. Mr. Schuster confirmed that the defendant's wife was present at that time, and he was aware of who she was. He Mr. Schuster described Mr. Adams as resisting right there, and as a result, because there was a lot of people in the domestic terminal, they proceeded to move into that public area. Mr. Schuster meant by resisting basically getting handcuffed behind his back and basically pushing the constable here around. She is a small body officer. In relation to Mr. Schuster, Mr. Adams basically tightened his arms, so he was moving around where they couldn't control him fully at the time, and that is why he was removed from the area. Again, with reference to the CCTV footage, Mr. Schuster said that he was attempting to basically restrain him at the time to make sure that things did not escalate to physical aggression where someone gets hurt. And when he had Mr. Schuster was holding the defendant's arm, Mr. Schuster said basically if Mr. Evans had cooperated at the time, the usual practice was to get both hands cuffed behind his back. He described that the defendant was quite a strong man, and because he was tightening his arms and also moving around, it wasn't an appropriate place at the time to actually do that. Because if it continued, things would have got a bit messy in the area, so his opinion was to be removed. Eventually, Mr. Adams was taken outside the terminal. He continued to resist arrest, as seen on the video footage that continued to be taken by his wife, and also the CCTV video footage was stopped. Finally, after the handcuffs had been placed on him, Mr. Adams was placed in the vehicle and taken to the Auckland Airport station. Mr. Constable Schuster said that on or about the 18th of July 2022 he had received information that the video that Mr. Adams had taken on his phone had now been uploaded publicly on YouTube, and he confirmed that this was the same footage that was being played to the court. Mr. Adams in his evidence endeavoured to explain the reason the footage looks as though he was resisting was because he was being pulled in opposite directions by both officers, that it was a tool for effect, making it look like he was resisting, and really it was because of the way two officers were trying to arrest him. However, Constable Schuster maintained that it was in fact Mr. Adams' resisting that made the arrest difficult, not his or Constable actions. Constable Hill's evidence with regard to the resisting charge was, and I quote, "I had one cuff on the defendant, there's two cuff links. I had one on his left hand and I was trying to put his arm behind his back in order to attempt to cuff those links. Got the other link onto the other arm once that was behind his back, but he was physically resisting me. Yeah, so it was pretty impossible. He at times linked his hands together and just physically resisted, just wouldn't give in at all to any direction that was told to him." With reference to the holding on with the class, which was required to go on the other arm, so I'm holding with all my might and he's letting right in it. I had concerns if I let it go that it would become a weapon. I didn't know what its demeanour here, that's another part of the training, but you never let the other half of the handcuff go if it's not attached to the person because it can be held around. The video footage continued to be showed, and she was asked had she managed there to get both hands clasped behind the back. She said it may have been when Senior Constable Schuster said you are resisting me in the video, that the defendant complied with the police. The footage was continued to be shown to Constable here during Mr. Bell's questioning. She described Senior Constable herself looking arms each side of the defendant. But as could be seen on the video, he was looking at her, and he was, whatever he was saying, probably those rights, he was just kind of doing a bodily job, which has jerked me forwards and slightly around behind him. And I did attempt to open the car door, but it was locked, at which point he went me back again. Mr. Bell asked her what he was saying to her at this point. She said, yeah, all the way, I was pretty sure he was talking about his rights, and I can't really recall from then on. The CCTV footage shows that just before getting into the police vehicle, Constable Care had her notebook, and she states that this was when she was reading Mr. Adams' Bill of Rights. She said she thought at that point she offered him a mask because it was COVID time and that they were getting in the car, but he yelled at her saying, do not put a mask on me, I'm telling you. So they left it at that, and they got him into the car without a mask. When she gave him his Bill of Rights at that point, she said, you're under arrest for trespass, you have the right to remain silent, you do not have to make any statement. Anything you do say will be recorded and may be given in evidence in court. You have the right to speak with a lawyer without delay and in private, and please have a list of lawyers you may speak for free. She asked him whether he understood those rights, and then asked him, did he want to make a statement? And Mr. Adams said, I know my right to silence, something like that, and she recorded in her notebook as well. Mr. Adams questioned Constable here as to whether he really resisted arrest or was being pulling apart, which made it look like he was resisting. Constable here responded, I don't quite understand what you're saying putting your hand apart. I don't understand that question. From what I can see from the video is that we were, I was on the left. Senior Constable Schuster was on the right, and when I went to open the door, you yanked me from doing that because you continued to use your body to sway to swing me. Mr. Adams, probably because I was in the handcuffs because the handcuffs were tight. Constable here, I didn't hear you complain about the pain other than when we were attempting to cuff you around the corner before walking into the car. So I consider you didn't complain at that time when I was trying to open the car door at all. But you did go yank me back like that, and if that hurt you, well, and how you were handcuffed was the everyday common way that you were handcuffed. So if you did experience pain, which you never spoke at the time, then you inflicted it upon yourself because you used my body weight, your body weight, or my body weight around. Question as to whether the Constable had read his Bill of Rights or not. Mr. Adams said, you say you attempted to read me my rights when I was saying, who are you? Where is that shown on the video? Constable here, but you yelling at me, sorry. Mr. Adams, should I state the question again? Constable here, where's that shown in the video? Mr. Adams, you say you attempted to read me my rights when I was saying, who are you? Where is that shown on the video? You attempting to read my rights. Constable here, yes, I recall I was verbally trying to tell you your rights. I did not read them because I would have to get my notebook and read them out from our 8-1. Now, I recall trying to recite them to you, but that's when you yelled at me, who are you, who are you? So that would have been on the recording, they're trying to recite them to me. I think I don't know if it's on the recording, but I remember people trying to say them to me at that time. Footage was then played. Mr. Adams asked it to be stopped at a certain point. Was it an indication you were trying to read my rights in that part of the video? Constable here, I can't hear what I'm saying to you because you're yelling over the top of me. So I can't tell you, but I recall, Mr. Adams, so there was no attempt to read my rights. Constable here, I recall I did attempt to tell you your rights and advise you of your rights. Mr. Adams, yep, you would hear my wife speaking. If you attempted to read them my rights, it would have been picked up on the footage. Constable here said I don't know. My observations of the footage is about 13, number 13 on the footage, that Constable can be seen having told Mr. Adams he's under arrest for trespass, and that she gets the first cuff around his left hand. She instructs him to put his hand behind his back, but instead Mr. Adams continues to try and record. He then hands over his phone and tells his wife to continue phoning, at which point Constable here says to his wife, "Turn it off." Mr. Adams becomes more aggressive at that point when he believes Constable here has touched his wife and begins to say, "Do not touch my wife, do not touch her," repeatedly. Mr. Adams has been repeatedly told to put his hands behind his back by Constable here. He has then walked out of the terminal with Constable Schuster on his right and Constable here on his left. The second cuff has still not been put on, however he walks with them out of the building and repeatedly says unlawful arrest. When they get out of the building, you can hear Constable here saying you have the right to, but then that is cut off by Mr. Adams saying, "I saw why they arrested me." Constable here then explains he's been arrested for trespass. After being told by Constable here that he was asked to leave, Mr. Adams replies, "By who?" Constable here replies, "By me." Mr. Adams then becomes to aggressively say, "And who are you?" You can hear Constable here trying to read in his Bill of Rights in between all of this too, but she's not able to complete it because Mr. Adams keeps continuing to yell and insist. It is clearly visible that Constable here is trying to put his hand behind his back, and he is not allowing him to. Mr. Adams starts to say they're hurting his hand. After Mr. Adams pulls Constable here to one side, as he is clearly overbearing, the Constable here again asks to put his hand behind his back, and he replies no. The entire time the CCTV, you can clearly see on the CCTV, that Constable here is struggling while Constable Schuster is trying to hold his right arm steady. Eventually, even Constable Schuster says to Mr. Adams, "You've just resisted." After a struggle, they manage to use his hands behind his back and get the cuff onto him. Mr. Adams' footage ends there and there's no longer any audio, but the CCTV footage is still running. And at around 15:20, it's clear, even as they're walking towards the police car, Mr. Adams is tugging Constable here around due to her significantly smaller size and speaking aggressively to her. They eventually manage to get the car door open, and Mr. Adams appears to be not still by this point as Constable Schuster holds on, and Constable here starts to move things around in the back seat. You can then see Constable here faces up to Mr. Adams again while Constable Schuster appears to be adjusting her handcuffs. She gets out her notebook and appears to be saying something, but Mr. Adams can be seen continuously talking over her at this entire time, appearing as if he's not listening to anything she was saying, and as I said, rather trying to talk over her. He is put into their vehicle about 7:45, and you can see Constable here reading something to Mr. Adams as he sits in the vehicle. This would have been around about the time when his Bill of Rights were read to him according to Constable here's evidence. then both constables get back into the vehicle and drive off. Heading now to the charge, I'm satisfied that the prosecution clearly proved beyond reasonable doubt that Constable Hill is a police officer when she gave her request for choice under oath. Further, the video clearly shows her dressed in a uniform with the QRD present. It is evident that Mr. Adams knew she was a police officer. He states in the video to Mr. McIntyre he will deal with police when they come. Here's Mr. McIntyre radioing to call police. He obtains and records Constable Schuster's ID, and it is more than reasonably obvious that at this point Constable Hill is also a police officer. Constable Hill was on duty and acting in the execution of her duty at the time she came to the airport and eventually released Mr. Adams. I am satisfied beyond reasonable doubt that Mr. Adams knew that they were both police officers and so knew they were acting in the execution of their duty. In my view, it is clearly visible on the CCTV that Mr. Adams resisted Constable Hill in the execution of their duty. This is confirmed by new evidence, which I've accepted, as I've accepted Mr. McIntyre's, Constable Schuster's, and also Ms. Sarvia, who said she could clearly see Mr. Adams resisting when she was recording through the CCTV system. In contrast, Mr. Adams says it appears as if he was resisting only because he was being pulled in opposite directions. However, I do not find this a credible statement based on the evidence that I have referred to. I am satisfied beyond reasonable doubt that Mr. Adams did intend to resist Constable Hill in the execution of the duty. It was evident that he was making a nuisance of himself the entire time, and especially towards Constable Hill. He intentionally tried to make her job harder, and his intention is clear from his aggressive behaviour, both physical and verbal. I found Constable here, as I had Constable Schuster and Ms. Sarvia, as being and Mr. McIntyre as being honest and credible witnesses. I do not accept Mr. Adams's evidence. I did not find him to be either honest or credible. I find that the Bill of Rights were read to him, and Constable said he has said they were, and you can hear her attempting to save him in their first exit building, but Mr. Adams keeps cutting her off. She's again reading something from the notebook when she and Mr. Adams got into the vehicle, which would have been the time when she would have finally had an opportunity to try and get to read his rights to him. Given his continuous abusive behaviour, I find this charge having been proven beyond reasonable doubt. As an addendum, I do wish to say that during the course of the hearing, Mr. Adams did show regret for his actions of behaviour when he spoke in court. He acknowledged he was carried away with emotion, and in hindsight he should have behaved differently. He seemed genuinely regretful of his actions. He of course is entitled to deny the charges, but upon a close and thorough examination of the facts and the evidence, it's evident to me that all three charges have been proven beyond reasonable doubt. Found Mr. Adams guilty on all three charges. So the issue now, Mr. Bell is, and Mr. Adams is penalty sentencing. And in my view, you can do that today, it would be sensible.
Yes, Your Honour. One point would be, Mr. Adams prior to when the hearing was scheduled in Marco a few weeks ago, following Randall second officer, this judge Richard.
Copy here if you like.
You've got a copy here.
Yes.
Work of these convictions, although I know she does have a number of convictions. I'll hand him up, I'll just check that. He confirms these previous convictions.
Conclusions of this stuff, although he's already been found guilty of not performing the rest of the past that should have preclusion of stock holdings who have been found guilty among others previous things they shouldn't be able to play with us, should they? Well, the previous convictions are handed up. Yep.
Those are accepted, are they? The issue that you have, Mr. Adams, is that you've said that a conviction had a detrimental effect on you to run and be the director of your own business. Be nice building services limited, but you haven't addressed as to why that would happen, why that would be. There's no evidence as to what that effect would be, why it would affect your ability to remain a director and run this business, given as recently as May 2022 you were convicted of contraband protection order, and you had a criminal history containing serious violence, including friendly violence. Dishonesty, and a previous conviction for obstructing a hindering police activities back in 2006. But you were convicted of sentenced to imprisonment for resisting police in 2018. You also have respect of assault with intent to injure. So, to consider a discharge pursuant to Section 106. Obviously, I have to be satisfied that the direct and indirect consequences outweigh the gravity of the offender. And there are a number of steps that you have to take, and one includes providing the court with evidence as to what you say is the detrimental effect. I don't have any evidence. I just have an affidavit that makes a statement. And then once I've identified the gravity of the offence, it's the seriousness of it, and then related it to your, which would include your previous convictions, because they're relevant. And then ascertain what the indirect and indirect consequences are, which I can't do on the basis of that affidavit. I then have to exercise my discretion as to whether or not you should be discharged. Unfortunately, your application doesn't really get you past, get you into the, it's not sufficient to progress the matter. So I know what Mr. Bell's attitude is as to parenting, and whether it's appropriate to make the application and he's acting for himself, which should be given the opportunity to provide it, and put it on to a sentencing date.
Yes, the question being why these convictions would impact his work beyond, as your Honour's identified, other convictions.
Yeah. I mean, you know, you'd have to show that these convictions would have a detrimental effect on the business. And some of it's what I call a substantial criminal history. And it's a versatile one because it's family violence, you know. I've gone through the conviction history. But I will give you the opportunity by fixing the sentencing date and requiring, and saying to you, it's over to you. You've got to provide, evidence on oath to support the application as to why it would affect the business, particularly building business. And I don't know how long you've been carrying on this business, but I suspect you've been carrying it on throughout this offending. You've always been a builder. Is that your occupation? I don't know what your occupation is.
I've been a builder, but I haven't been a company director up until after COVID.
Well, you became a company director despite these previous convictions. As I understand, the Companies Act, it's rare for anyone to be stopped being a director unless it's something pretty extreme. It has to be something offensive.
The previous convictions has quite a lot more serious than these ones. So
yes.
That being a question as to why these ones would
affect you. Yes. And while we're having this discussion as to what should be done next, I'm happy to ask Mr. Bell to indicate what the prosecution would be seeking in respect to this amendment. One of them was finable only.
Yes, the offensive behaviour is finable only.
Yes.
The other two also.
A maximum of 3 months.
Yes, but also carry fines.
Yes.
And so I would have thought it would be a combination fine and community work. I'm not sure whether supervision or anything of that like is really necessary.
I don't think anything else is necessary.
So that's where the
So the end if you didn't proceed with the application with a discharge from conviction, after just hearing from you, I would propose short period. There are other options such as a conviction and discharge, or to be convicted and all come up the sentence of court bond, which is like a book of aid bond. But this is a different type of offending to what you've been convicted of before. You've previously been convicted on the trespass act. You have a previous conviction for resisting. I'm not sure what you got from that years ago. Oh, that's when you sentenced to imprisonment, but that was clearly as a result of, you got 2 months of imprisonment. I'm going to leave to drive for home detention. But it was also sort of intent to final sentence charges as well. So, that's the option of being sentenced today or the sentencing date for you to make a decision about what these things.
Thank you, Your Honour.
Hey, the questions about that?
I think we just go ahead and get the
just go ahead with
get
the
the sentencing done today. No point wasting any more of the court's time.
Yeah, I mean the point I was trying to make was that would be the argument you'd have to mount for 106.
We're under the belief that because he was you can't be a director of a company with criminal convictions, but clearly he can because he already has them. So yeah. So if we just go ahead with the sentencing and get it over and done with, I'm sure you've got enough time. I'm dealing with with one of your other friends too, Henry Steele.
Oh yeah.
In Auckland District Court. We're there next week with a 4-day trial.
or something, mate, I'm helping out. So.
No,
I'm there literally just to keep him calm though, because he tends to fly off the handle unless I'm there. I have a calming effect on him.
Oh, that's good. Is that a jury trial?
Yeah, jury trial, next week.
What are the charges?
They first tried to do it under the Harmful Digital Communication Act, but now they're going under criminal harassment. A couple of posts up on Facebook.
Oh, yeah.
This is why I don't use Facebook for posting anything. People tend to say things they shouldn't say on public media, but it was John Murphy, a car dealer in Green Lane.
Oh, okay.
So,
Man registration, you can tell.
sorry for yakking.
Yeah, he's a good operator.
Yeah,
He's very fair.
I met him last week.
Yeah.
So, yeah, seemed nice enough.
So do you obviously keep quite busy sort of amongst the...
I'm always
various
getting
calls and
contacted
stuff?
left, right and centre from various people.
Do you sort of do it full time, or you sort of balance work for something else as well?
No, it's just what I do as a hobby.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm a stay-at-home house husband. I look after the wife in the wheelchair a lot of the time. So,
Oh, good on.
but homeschooled the kids, and my channel's grown so many over 10 years and almost 3,000 videos up there. There's quite a lot of people that always drop me emails and asking questions and stuff. I've got a guy in Takanini to go and see. He had the cop show up at his doorstep at midnight just to do an investigation and wake up the whole house. And I'm sort of, well, let's just see what's all going on first. There's no point jumping in. A lot of people tend to fly off the handle too much too. And I'm going, you just got to understand the process.
Yeah, I think,
A lot of it is not understanding the steps.
And I think a lot of prosecutors, especially in sort of the police list, like this has been through the police list with 6 files listed each day or whatever. Just take a step to sort of explain, because it's all
It's all it takes. It's just a bit of understanding. It's the not knowing that usually drives people up the wall. If they have explained to them, it's a lot clearer. They can make a proper informed decision, I suppose. But yeah, there's a lot of damage to people out there, I put it. A lot of it by their own hand, but still.
What you want to do today? You wish to be sentencing to be adjourned to another date?
No.
Allow you to pursue your Section 106 application? Or, make further submissions as to sentence?
No, we'll go for sentencing. Your Honour.
Today?
Yes, please.
Right. Should we just hear from Mr. Bell as to why he thinks they're saying what the police are saying we should be sentenced to, and then I'll ask you to make your submissions.
I suppose, Your Honour, the charges are, in terms of a lead charge, although the offensive behaviour is finable only, that probably has a wider effect on
That creating the victims and the origin.
Yes,
particularly my concern would be that man.
Yes.
The little man, the old man.
Yes, and the I suppose spell affecting the Jetstar employee and Mr. McIntyre, his security guard, and the other 2 charges really in a way flowed from.
That's right.
That behaviour.
And are sort of intertwined.
Yes, the resisting, albeit physical, was probably not at the higher end of some of the behaviour that is in the typical resisting charges. And likewise, the trespass was a public space in the airport as opposed to, say, a council private dwelling. So those offences are probably at the lesser end of their scale, and the suggested outcome of a fine or a period of community work would suffice covering through charges. Potentially depending on Mr. Adams'
ability to pay or...
Yes, yes.
No, I agree with that. So really turning to you, Mr. Adams, you feel that the prosecutor's seeking either, which is common, I mean, if you can't pay a fine, then you sentence someone to community work. And these charges really fall into that category. Because of the lowest end, low end, you know, in terms of seriousness. If you want to make a statement, what do you think the sentence should be?
What I think the sentence should be?
Would you rather the fine or community service?
Excuse me?
And now you want to be sentenced today, so we're going to go ahead with
Right.
it. So,
Okay.
and you can say what you want about Mr. Bell's submissions. If you don't agree with them, say so. If you think you should receive another sentence, then you should say so. I mean, on any view, this can't proceed because it.
Yep, understandable. Yep.
Based on it just says that you want one.
Right.
But the law is very well settled as to the requirements. There must be before the court before you can consider one restriction.
I would just be saying that you'd be more accustomed to a fine than cohesion.
Yeah.
You can get around it.
Be more accustomed to a fine, Your Honour, rather than community service. Just that the community service probably impede on my working ability. Yeah. Thanks.
Can you make arrangements to part pay the fine?
Yes, I
To the
will.
registry?
Yes.
So just for the record, Ms. Adams, you can stand up. Following a defendant hearing, you have been convicted of 3 charges all arising on the 16th of July. The first is behaving in a disorderly manner, and it's is indicated by the prosecutor that is really the most serious charge when one looks at the evidence. It's finable only, and the maximum penalty is a fine of $1,000. The other 2 charges of trespass and resisting police. The offending of that was at the low end of the scale, as it were. They carry a maximum penalty of 3 months imprisonment. The suspicion of the prosecutor that they can dealt with either by way of fine or community work. You've indicated that you can pay a fine and that would not hinder your work commitments, which community work might be for you. So I can deal with you the following way. On the disorderly behaviour, CRN 8161, you're convicted and fined $500, court costs $130. On the other charges, you're also you're simply convicted and discharged, but you're ordered to pay the cost of $130, court costs. So there's $500 fine that relates to the disorderly behaviour. The other 2 charges, you're simply convicted and ordered to pay the court costs of $130.
Thank you.
Do you want to pay those now? Do you want to tell me how much you pay a week? Otherwise, you want to go to the registry and fix it up. You can talk to the registrar if you want to pay it, or you can pay it somewhere.
Okay, yeah, I'll part pay it, Your Honour.
You'll have to make arrangements to do that.
Today at the...
Well, I would if I was you while you were here.
Oh yeah, $50 a week if
You
that's
can
all
pay
right.
$50 a week. Well, I'll make the order
Thank you.
to be paid at the rate of $50 per week. This payment 1 week from today.
Just confirm the total is
You can do that?
Yeah. Sorry, what was the total, Your Honour?
So the total fine is $500,
Yes.
and that relates to the disorderly charge.
Yep.
The other 2 charges, you're simply convicted and ordered to pay the court costs, $130 on each.
Okay, thank you.
So
You've got 3
that-
lots of $130 to pay the court costs, and you're going to find a $500.
So $890 in total.
Well, you have no right to speak to me when you're required.
My apologies.
So I don't know what the problem is. If you tell me what the problem is.
Oh no, I just wanted to know the total, so it's
So
6.
the fine itself is $500.
Yes.
But you also must pay the court costs, which are fixed by, in law, at $130
Okay.
in respect of each charge. So that's an extra $130, which is the usual payment when someone's fined. They also pay the court costs.
Yeah.
So it's $130 on the disorderly, and it's and on the other 2 charges, you're simply convicted and ordered to pay court costs of $130.
Okay. Understood.
But I don't make that order. No, there is a $50 offender levy apparently.
Oh, okay.
But the court, the Justice Department does
Right.
does that.
Yeah.
So I'm not adding it up, but it's $500 on the fine.
$940.
And court costs on the
Yep.
disorderly. The others, you've simply convicted, but you must pay the court costs.
Right. Understood. Thank you.
Anything further?
Nothing from me.
No. Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
How do you stay? Just report Steve.
Can't help yourself, eh, mate?
Oh, I just got to speak, don't I? It's alright. I'll deal with you separately.
Thanks, man. Have a good week. All the best.
Always a pleasure, Harry.
See you, buddy.
See you, mate. Have a good day.
We will be contacted by mental health professionals in the following days. I look forward to catching up with you next time. All the best.